actually going to do it. I'm going to do it.
Do it. It's 1 o'clock here.
It's good. It's really good. Which is really wonderful. Right, okay, we've got that. It's just actually coming in. Speaker Insight is live. Hi everyone, Helena here. No Kelly today. Welcome to Speaker Insight, where we help speakers, authors and coaches to build a business on your terms. And I'm really excited and delighted because this is a personal favorite person of mine that we are actually bringing in, which is just amazing. I've known Katie for 3 years now. It feels like 3 lifetimes, and so that is in and of itself is amazing. And what I love about Katie, who is the social media angel, and I'll let her tell you all about herself in a moment, because actually I want to do some buzz in our businesses before we actually go live. So Katie, we always do a buzz in our business, and for those of you who are kind of joining in, please share the buzz in your business. It is a fantastic way to let everybody know what's actually going on, what's exciting, what's new, what you're promoting, what you're doing, what you're up to. It actually creates interest in your business because people want to be interested in you. So please share below. I would love to hear, and I'm sure Kelly would actually love to be able to read some of the buzzes in your businesses afterwards. One of the biggest bits of a buzz in our business is, of course, that we've got the Connect and Create Day coming up, and we've had masses of people. So we've been running a little competition, the winner of which I will announce here later on. So Katie, if I forget, because you and I are so excited by what we're talking about, help me remember that we need to announce the winner of that competition, which is a space on the Connect and Create Day, which is where, we actually take it out of the social and into the actual world, and speak to people in that way. So what I love about Katie, and I'll let her do her introduction, she is a member in the Connection Hub, so I'll put the link to that in here. So if there's something that sparks, obviously write your questions in. If you're watching this on the replay, by all means write your questions in later on, so that she can actually answer them and tag Katie. But she's also in the Connection Hub, which is the group that Speaker Insight runs, where you can find a whole bunch of peer level led people, as well as agents and suppliers and some incredibly talented people in there. So if you like, tag a question in around the social media, because Katie's approach is just a little bit different. So yeah, I think let's just start with you, shall we? So how did the social media angel come into being? Tell us a bit about you, honey.
Well, social media has always been in my blood from a first get-go. When I was at university, I actually set up a website with 2 of my fellow students, which was essentially a social network before there were social networks. And then when I got into the workplace, I started working in the music industry and just was able to see, because the music tends to be quite front line as things develop, and things like MySpace were suddenly in our worlds, and just seeing what that was doing in the music industry, I kind of got quite involved in the digital side quite early, and started podcasting back in around 2005, 2006, and actually was the first winner of the Sony Radio Academy Award for a Best Internet Program.
How amazing.
Yeah, very amazing. And that actually gave me the confidence that that what I was doing was good, and that it was quite a disruptive channel. So I decided to set up my own business in 2007, which was a social media agency before there were social media agencies.
Yeah.
So I've very much grown with that. And yeah, the social media angel was, I'd started working with Mind, Body, Spirit authors as part of KDOT. I'd gone on a retreat with an author called John Parkin, a Hay House author.
I remember.
Yeah, and had a big success with his Facebook page. And that made people go, ooh, and started to get some pretty high profile clients, and realized that's what I loved more than doing corporate stuff, doing the music industry stuff. I was getting a bit older. I wasn't so interested in going to gigs and more interested in reading a good book and going to a retreat.
As we possibly all do.
Yeah, exactly. And then so I went solo as a consultant in 2014, decided to wrap up the agency and go solo, just to focus on the mind, body, spirit industry. And yeah, I didn't really have a name for the new business, and just clients just were starting to naturally call me their social media angel because of the way that I make them feel about social media. And that then just, as everything with me, I follow the breadcrumbs and allow things to happen quite organically. And we met 3 years ago. So it's 4 years ago I wrapped up the business and went solo. And we met in that year. I was figuring out, what does being a solo consultant and coach actually mean now for my business? Because it's a different space and it's got a different set of rules.
It does. It really does.
And we work together to help me figure that out. Yeah.
It's really interesting. I was, when Kelly and I were speaking, I was like, oh my word, when we went to your book blessing, and more on that in a moment, literally in the way that Facebook does, in the way that, we sometimes get reminded, literally it was the day after or the day after that. Yeah. So literally kind of 3 years to the day from when we'd done a Four Intentions. So for those of you who have watched previous Facebook Lives, there's a technique I teach called the Four Intentions. It's number 16 on the files if you're in the Connection Hub. I'll pop the link in later, or if Kelly's on here, which I know she is, she'll probably go and find it for you before like magic happens. But it was actually, we used that to kind of birth almost everything, didn't we? Which is just amazing.
But it's been beautiful because, and this is what I teach about social media as well, it's not been like a driving force. I wasn't like looking at those all the time. It was like setting those intentions. And Helena, this is not something I've had a chance to share with you yet, but as I'm starting to get reviews in for the book and feedback, like they're literally like mirroring the intentions back to me, to the point where it's a little bit freaky sometimes. I'm like, did you read the before you sent me? Like actual keywords that we wrote down, I'm now having like reflected back, and like that is just magic.
Isn't it just? I'm so pleased, and like that's got me a little bit goosebumpy. So let's actually talk. So the one thing I want to pick up on before I move on to the question I really want to ask you is, I love that you allowed the avatar to give you the name as opposed to anything else. I love this whole kind of, which I know is part of your ethos, that letting things emerge and really listening for what your avatar is actually wanting can help to shape the business more than anything else, which I really love as a thing, if you like. Yes. So yeah, I'm delighted.
Yeah, I think a lot of people can have like an outside in approach. And I very much, it's the other way around. How can we have an inside out approach? And that inside part is also like what's really happening with your clients in the real world to expand out from.
So which leads me beautifully into, I know that you are such an advocate for kind of doing social media your way, which we really love, because of course we love speakers, authors and coaches doing business on their terms. So tell us a little bit about, what does that mean?
Well, what I have seen during my 10 plus years in this space, that it's gone from being, very content led to begin with, to suddenly becoming really, really technical. And this sort of plays into your title for the session today. And what happened when it became super technical was everyone became really overwhelmed and thinking that you have to do it in this prescribed way by the digital marketing industry. And without being too controversial, we have to remember that the digital marketing industry are trying to sell you how to do the digital marketing industry. And yet, and it's like drive the clicks. It's slightly inhuman. It is very digital. We drive clicks, we drive emails, and then we have sales funnels. And my whole body was always kind of going,
I'm pretty certain there's a lot of people that can relate to that.
I am a visual communicator. I'm not a numbers, spreadsheets kind of gal. And so social media, I think, can suddenly be very much perceived as how many clicks are we driving, how many likes have we got, how many followers have we got, and we've all become quite hung up on those metrics. I'm not saying that metrics aren't important. I really like to be able to see data to see how things are going. So that's not about not using the data in a way, but it's when we become just hung up on all these numbers, it starts to lose its sense of something. So doing social media in your own way, it's about how do you find a way to use social media in a way that feels really comfortable to you, that doesn't, that there's not this immediate block that says, I can't use this, which is what a lot of people, and I would say particularly also where you've grown up in how old you are, depending on where you were at during the evolution of this age of digital media and social media, can also make a big difference. So a lot of people will have a block around it, and that just stops them from using it, and using it effectively. But it doesn't have to be that way.
And so I love the title of your book, and I'm very aware that actually Inara just dragged off the book, so I'm delighted you've got your copy, because mine's lying in the kitchen at the moment. My dog literally grabbed your book, so it'll be lovingly I was like, good, that's happened. Hey, children and animals, right, when you go live. So I'm delighted. So you talk about social media for a new age. Tell us a bit about what you mean.
So social media for a new age is about finding ways to use social media that feel really good for you. And that's about how do you create community around your message? How do you use it as a creative space to show up? Because you can be super creative on social media. For me, it's like a dream come true. It's like a radio, video, pictures, like all of the things, like they're all there for us to use and utilize. But it's really actually how do we show up? And rather than being, I call it the social media vortex of doom, being in this place that we feel anxious and it feels like it's this thing that we have to do, that we should be doing, that we can shift our relationship to it and actually see it as a tool to reach more people, but also using it in a way that feels really enjoyable, because people on the other side of the screen, like, they pick up on that. And I am a spiritual person, so I'm very into energy and how energy moves, and actually how energy is moving throughout the web, because I see it that we have like this digital dimension now that we're sort of straddling and existing. I mean, I don't know if anyone's got screen time on their mobiles. I was like, how many hours a day am I on my phone? And that's the realism of today's world, particularly where we're running businesses. We're often connected to a device. So how are we showing up consciously with that device and using it effectively for our businesses so that we don't burn out?
Agreed. And I think there is something to be said for the showing up consciously, which means that you have to have considered where you're coming from in the first place. And certainly a couple of the comments that are kind of coming through at the moment is that it is about this whole effectively is the key. It's that whole, you do need to use it for your business, but the blockages that happen are the things that kind of come into place. So really, I suppose for me, it's all about how you do that, and you know, how you tap into you and your original voice. And I know that in the book you talk a lot about that. So I'm throwing an extra question at you and just sort of saying, so share a tip or two
on how to show up authentically with your voice. And one of the biggest things is to practice and play, but make that practice and play feel very safe.
Nice.
So I feel very safe talking to Helena because we know each other.
Yeah.
So if you were thinking of doing a Facebook Live or doing a video or whatever it might be, how do you make that feel as safe for you as possible?
Beautiful.
And have people around you that you know get you and support your message, which is why Facebook groups are such a nice space, because I tend to find people feel safer in a group than they do on a page. Like a page can feel like, oh my God, I'm broadcasting to the world. And actually a group be like, oh, actually there's like 10, 20 people, 100 people, you know, maybe, you know, and it just, again, feels safer.
Interestingly enough, we actually have a little Facebook test group where we will actually do, you know, for example, testing volume levels and stuff like that. So, and there is nothing to prevent anyone in here. In fact, I think somewhere in the Connection Hub, there's a couple of people who've actually set up a test group together where they're creating that space of safety so that it's almost the rehearsal. And the speakers, and certainly, you know, the coaches and the authors too, but certainly as speakers, you understand the idea of practice and play. You understand the idea of rehearsal.
Well, I was very, like, as you know, when we met 3 years ago, I was completely blocked around speaking in public and my voice, and I was very nervous around that stuff. And so what I used to do is I used to go and find really lovely locations. So mine was a beach, and I came up with like a series idea, which is my nudges, and I just sit and record and play with this, getting my voice heard. And actually that process also helped me develop my message, which then helped me write my book. So they're all linked together really beautifully. And like, here is a community of authors and speakers and coaches. It's like it's all one, and being on social media is as important as the book, is as important as the talk, because they're all part of the same body of work.
They really are. So now, here comes the question for you, because of course, so much of the time, a lot of people are looking at, how do I automate in the business? How do I systemize in the business? And so not that I'm asking you that question, I'm actually asking you about the fact that I know that you've managed to do some of that. So how does social media drive, generate, and support your work and your living?
Ooh, well, Instagram is probably my main platform. It's a very active community on there, and I have been able to build relationships with an audience through that consistency in showing up, even with not necessarily all the time. I'm not like show up on social media every day, but I used to do my nudges, so that was like a weekly, just 1 minute little tip, and that helped build an audience. Then what I did was I really started to, I have what's called a strategy of love, and that's really started to develop into what I'm calling a strategy of trust.
Nice.
So it's like, how am I then building trust with the people in my immediate audience? But then how am I reaching out to new audiences through my connected community? Beautiful. So I'm like doing this is part of that. Like, we know each other and love and trust each other, and then that's coming into your community, so then your community are going to get to know me. And what that tends to happen, that leads to referrals, that leads to word of mouth. Then with the book, people are sharing the book a lot on Instagram particularly, and I've had some influencers sharing around the book, and then that's increasing sales. So it's got this lovely pattern to it, just in the act of showing up, really.
And I think that's one of the things that I love about your book, is that that's what the invitation is. It is literally show up and share and see what emerges, which really works beautifully. And also this whole idea of who are the partners that it's funny that you talk about love and trust. We of course organically grow together, you and I, and have the same ideas in different heads, because I talk about love, trust and respect, the wider network that you actually kind of work with. Yes. And I think that's something that everyone here can do, which is, you know, and Kelly and I advocate for this all the time. Where are the groups where your potential clients and partners hang out? Where can you contribute value from who you be, so that you can actually attract the like-minded, like-hearted people that actually can help grow your business pretty much organically, but interestingly via social.
So I think there's one of the poems.
Oh, please.
Is
Katie's actually got a poem for every single chapter. It's absolutely brilliant.
This one is Connected Community. Connected community is marketing for a new age and so much more. And these turning points, they turn faster than they've ever turned before. Oh. Short and sweet one, that one.
Yeah, that was a short and sweet one. I do like that one. But it's actually that. And by the way, you can now hear, you can probably get a sense from Katie that the book is not heavy going at all. So it really is a delight to read, and there are some really good implementable things.
Yeah, we've got inner unicorn question time at the end of every chapter.
Which is amazing. So yeah, okay, so let me counter the unicorn with this question. How technically minded, I just love you so much, how technically minded do you have to be to get a big following or a good following on social media?
I think if you can get your head around one platform, then that's the thing that you should do. Yeah, just one. Like if you're not technically and they make you feel nervous, pick the one that doesn't make you feel nervous and just figure out how to do, if you figure out how to post, and that's about it.
and truly, that even that, you know, sort of like, if you don't know, find a friend and ask, right?
Or get a coaching session.
That's
or look on YouTube. But literally, but that's like the easiest part. If you can figure out one platform and how to post to it, that's the key.
Yeah, we always talk about nail one platform, and it's really interesting because Kelly and I are now getting asked quite a lot about, you know, are you doing anything on LinkedIn? And we're like, no, actually, we're using Facebook as the one platform that we actually at the moment really want to ensure that our community is connected, and actually that's where we're working right now. Once you've got that in place, that's not saying that people can't actually pick up. You know, you can by all means get your Instagram URL kind of sorted, you know, sort of, and begin to take those over, but don't actually do it until you've kind of managed and nailed, I don't like that term, but you know, once you've nailed one, you can then start to expand.
I was going to say, I can't see in comments, but I'd love to know if anyone's watching live, you know, what technical aspects make them feel nervous.
Beautiful. Maybe. Yes, please. Yeah, I will be able to see the comments. They are sort of coming in bit by bit. Neve absolutely loves the whole kind of just nail one platform. Don't you love the permission, Neve, just to actually go just one? Yeah, that's it, just one for now, because actually that makes complete sense. And honestly, Kelly's handling all the questions anyway, sort of like I can see Neve's actually saying, Kelly, you're quick. So I don't know what she's being quick about, but I completely love it. I love it. From our other angel that's kind of sitting somewhere in here, which is really good. So in terms of you know, for speakers, authors, coaches, where's your recommendation about kind of, you know, what's your recommendation about where to show up?
So showing up, I kind of see it's like a ripple effect. So you want to show up with your clients first as a starting point. If you've got, I mean, it depends where you are in your social media journey as well, right? So it's like, how do I show up for the people that I know that want to hear what I have to say and to share? Or maybe you're a speaker and you've been to a speaker, you know, you've been doing lots of speaking events and they're in your community. Like, how do I show up for them. But then it's really about thinking about who is this connected community and how do I show up in those spaces. So it is about being in groups that your friends are running. It is about, that is an important part of it, and it is worth the time investment. And that doesn't mean showing up inauthentically to try and get this. It's like, okay, what is natural and organic? Who am I connected to? And even if it's somebody who's got a group with 50, 100 people, if they're all then watching that and then they go out and buy your book, like that, it still has the ripple effect, because those 20 people who bought the book then might recommend you to another 20 people. And so you can't always see the spread that's happening. But I know personally as well, like the more I show up and do interviews, the more I'm being asked to do interviews by people who are seeing like, oh, actually, will you come on my podcast? Will you come and do this with me? And that is such an important of this kind of trust building as well. And that is worth way more than a Facebook ad campaign, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Sarah's actually just got one here. So in answer to your so one, Jax actually said, so one of the issues is it feels icky and time consuming. So that's one of them. And the other one, I'll say this one as well, is so for the lives, so this is from Sarah, for the lives, connectivity issues. Oh, hang on, I have to scroll down. It was just coming in. They're coming in thick and fast. For the lives, connectivity issues, setting a time and not being able to keep a promise because broadband throttles or an app plays up. And she's also got trolling issues, so that makes her a bit fearful as well.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I mean, with the broadband stuff, I mean, that is get better broadband or find a way to get better broadband or a 4G connection. I mean, that is something that, unfortunately, particularly when you live in rural areas, and I've experienced it when I was staying with my parents earlier this year, it makes it stressful. But again, it's like, how do I find a solution for that? Because that's my block for getting online. Then like, how do I fix that? And with the icky question, so what was that? Icky and
hang on, icky and I'm just scrolling. Icky and time consuming.
Yeah, I mean, it can be time consuming, but it's again like, what's the value in that time that you're spending, and finding ways to measure that. The icky part, then I would sit and think about write a list. Why does it feel icky? And then again, like, reflect on that. What feels icky about it? Is it that you don't really like making content, or or is it the whole kind of sales marketing thing that can feel a bit icky? I know that comes up for a lot of people. So again, how can we make this playful and fun? Like, I'm getting to have a chat with my awesome friend Helena.
I know, right?
And we're also reaching an audience at the same time. That is just play. This is play for me. So it is time, but it's time well spent.
And I think there's something there for me around what is the value of that time spent, which you've alluded to. There's that piece around, how does this tie into my greater vision of reaching X amount of people, in my world, X amount of hearts, sort of like, so how can I be part of the solution? Because we talk about change makers a lot, in our membership group, Change Maker Central. That's exactly what we talk about. We're cultivating change makers who are taking charge of the message that they want to get out there, so that they can reach people and change the world, really. And this is one of the ways of doing it, right?
Such an incredible tool for reaching people, and it is a marathon. It is not a sprint. It's not. I remember when I was running the agency, I went into a big marketing meeting one day, and some dude was just sat at the back, and he's like, just stick it online and it'll go viral. Yeah, because that's how it works. Like, it's not how it works. Like, you do have to put the time in, and that, as you do lots of parts of your business, but it is an incredible functionality that we've been given to be able to reach people worldwide. I mean, it's such a gift.
Yeah.
And when you look at it as a gift, again, it kind of switches our relationship to it. It gets us out of this vortex and doom and into this more joyful, creative, fun space.
Yeah, and I really love that question. If there's one question I would invite everyone to take away from this is your little question of how can I make this playful and fun? You know, playful, fun, and valuable really is, you know, and valuable is in the eye of the beholder. And therefore, it's all about that whole, well, how do I add value that I know people will actually benefit from? So this becomes a platform in and of itself, because one of the things I think that we talk to people about is creating a platform of your own, or creating a space that you can at least speak into that allows you to, again, increase your reach and share what you know. Yeah. And Joe Fellows has just actually said it's such an important and realistic message. It's not a sprint, and it is a time investment.
It is. Yeah.
And that's exactly it.
And the other part, if there are parts of the process that do bring up like technophobia, hire somebody in to help you with that. So I have some clients that I manage their accounts, and we do pre-prepare content and schedule content in advance. I don't have time for that. So I hire a VA to help me with those aspects. And then that takes that sort of, it's funny, I went like this, it's almost like it's a bird. It does feel like a little bit. So that's the heavy, like, does it feel light or does it feel heavy? And which of the heavier parts can I outsource to somebody who enjoys doing that bit? Like my VA, she loves going through my clients' content and creating the extracts and blog pieces to put up there, you know, whereas I don't. Like, so it's, you know, it's like building a little bit of a team around you that doesn't need to be expensive, particularly if you are like author, coach and speaker. Having that bit of support to make that easier for you can be really helpful.
It really can. And I think there is something here about, you know, sort of almost sitting back and thinking about, as you said before, make that list of everything you feel is icky. Well, I would actually go further. I would go make the list of everything. There's a wonderful, now I need to bring her to mind, Andrea Lee, a beautiful Canadian coach who uses a love, like, loathe list. And you know, if you actually got that out and simply put down, what do you love about social media? What do you like about it? What do you loathe about it? That actually in and of itself will really help you get on board a tech VA. There's all sorts of praise coming in for tech VAs at the moment, so it's a delight in and of itself. But that can actually help you go, okay, well, what is it that I know and love doing? What is it that I could actually kind of come out? So Neve's got a question. Let me just actually, I'm doing this without glasses on. It's quite entertaining for me. Totally agree about doing it our own way. Interested, Katie, to hear what you think about publishers looking for our data. I feel the pressure to increase my email list, etc., for this purpose alone.
You want my honest answer?
Yeah. We would love that, because
there is pressure from publishers for getting a publishing deal to have a certain amount of numbers. This was the same in the music industry, record labels and radio stations wanting to see YouTube figures. There's no easy way around that one. The other thing, unless you've got a really strong relationship with the publisher and they've got a really strong desire for the book, then the numbers thing does come up, but it's not always required. You know, I sometimes feel like it's a little bit of an excuse, you know. So the other thing that I would say is, and what I did was self-publish. I've done a self-publish hybrid. It meant that I had full creative control. Again, I was able to build a team around me and publish this, and I get all my royalties. So because you're pretty much going to be doing the marketing yourself anyway. You'll have some marketing support from a publisher, but I don't think it really matters, again, unless you are like going in at a top level and they want to put a big lot of money towards marketing support. Most people in the first book anyway, I tend to find are doing a lot of it themselves, and it really makes you take ownership then for the marketing. Because I think what can happen is when we get a publishing deal is there's the publisher's going to take care of that.
Completely. So I think that there's also something about when you grow your list because you are adding value, that isn't a pressure from other people. So there's something for me about the perspective of, well, what are the ways in which I could add value so that I, inevitably build my platform and my reach in that way. So what could you do perspective wise to take the pressure off? Because actually it can't not help to have the reach, because of course your message is going out to many, many more.
Of course, it is the pressure of thinking we need 10,000 followers or 10,000 emails on a list before we can make that thing happen for us. So that was almost why because I don't have 10,000 on a list. It was like, how do I take that pressure off myself, thinking that that's the thing I need to do in order to do the book. So I was like, actually, that's become an obstacle. How can I take that obstacle out of the way? And that's not necessarily the right direction for everyone. I'm always of a, everyone has to follow their own path with whatever it is they're doing.
Completely love it.
It is a stress and it is a pressure, and I hear it from lots of people. And then what happens is we go down that road of thinking we've got to do these, click funnels and spend lots of money on a Facebook ad campaign, which will drive email addresses. So I have someone that I worked with, and she ran a big Facebook campaign to get the numbers on the email list, actually for launching like a webinar and a course. And she built her list by a good 2,000-3,000 emails. But because the value of an email has decreased so much because of the high level of email marketing done in this very formulaic way, people have switched off. So actually the results from having those emails, it's like paying for numbers on Instagram or Facebook, which again, it's amazing how many people will do it. I actually had lunch with a friend the other day and I was like, okay, be honest with me. Have you bought Instagram followers? And she was a bit like, might have had a go at trying. I was like, why did you do that?
Yeah.
Again, because we think we've got to have these numbers and actually it works against you long term.
Yeah, and I think there is also something, and again, sort of when Kelly and I speak about building a business on your terms, one of the things around that is what size business suits you, sort of like, because actually an engaged community of, let's say, 150 through to, let's say, 2,000 rather than 20,000 may actually be enough to sustain the impact that you want to create in the world. So there is a question there around that, right?
And so what I also was, I did a class on Sunday night around Instagram, and I was saying that, okay, so I have 5,000 followers on my Instagram account. The person I'd collaborated with doing the class had like 15,000. And so we'd actually been on each other's, like sharing about each other for 10 days in the promotion of this course. And so I was then by proxy reaching his audience, and then doing this, I'm by proxy reaching your audience. I've done a podcast. So the size of my audience is just like, it kind of becomes
flexible.
Yeah.
It's almost flexible depending on what promotion you've got going on. We actually spoke last week about, what promotion or offer have you got in place, and almost there is a flexibility. Of course, some of those people are going to end up in your community, but for a tiny period of time, your reach is almost bigger and wider because you're part of that community, and then it kind of, so it's a movable.
Yeah, it does this all the time, but that's life, right? Yeah. We're always contraction, expansion.
Is it waves or particles? I tell you. Now, so I am absolutely certain, so as well as you being in the Connection Hub, I am sure that people would love to know where to find you. So tell us where we can find you, please.
Well, my most active place is Instagram at this point in time. Again, I go with the flow, but Instagram is my house right now, particularly Instagram stories. That's where you'll find me sharing most often around stuff I'm seeing and learning.
And it's actually really, really good. You can kind of model what Katie's doing as well. So I'm just going to pop in some of the links for you because that just makes it nice so that you guys don't have to go and look it up.
Yeah, I love Instagram stories. I really do. And I'm seeing a real increase in views and activity on there.
And just for those people who are currently going, what does that mean? Can you just tell us a little bit about what Instagram story is?
Instagram has, what me and George were talking about was the 5 Instagram galaxies. So you've got an Instagram feed, which is your grid, which is almost like your website. Kind of, that's where people can get a feel for you and your brand, and that's what shows up in the feed. But now along the top, they've got Instagram stories, which they kind of stole off Snapchat. The post.
I think that's called evolving.
Yeah, it's called evolving.
And you just
Going, oh, look at you over there. We'll take that idea and put it lightly, but it's great. It's a very creative space. They've got loads of filters and stickers, and you can write text on your posts, and it's stories for a reason. So I will create a story, so a beginning, middle and end. And they just last for 24 hours and then they disappear, or you can actually create highlights in your profile so people can go and visit them later. But it's lovely because it's very real and in the moment and authentic, and very playful as well, like GIFs and stickers, like I'm a happy lady. I can stick unicorns over it all day long.
Oh my God, you were in my head, which is just amazing. Okay, and so for those people, bearing in mind that our audience, so this is another thing, our audience is very Facebooky.
Yes. So
I've got a link there.
I have a Facebook group which is called Social Media for a New Age, and what I do in there is I tend to share, because you can't share articles on Instagram, so that's the place where I share sort of what's happening in the media that relates to my message. I also do lots of Facebook lives in there with some really cool authors in my mind, body, spirit world, and we'll share stuff in there on a regular basis, but both places are good access points.
Yeah, no, I really love that. And what I am actually just going to put in here, because it is such a delightful read and it is such an easy read, I am actually just going to pop a link through to your book as well, because it is just phenomenal.
Thank you.
Oh, you are so welcome, so welcome. So is there any final bit of advice or a tip that you might like to give before I announce, because I have remembered, I've got it written down here.
To think about who's your connected community as a real point of importance. Who are the people that you've maybe as, okay, I've got a good one. Point of action. Choose one person that you might reach out to, whether it's in Facebook Messenger, in Instagram direct messages, that that has an audience that you think would dig your message, and let it be a person that you know, and say, hey, let's do a Facebook Live or an Instagram Live, or is there some way we can collaborate on a piece of content that would speak to both of our audiences, and just start to play with that as a strategy.
Beautiful. That's a wonderful call to action that basically I completely adore, and that leaves us definitely kind of working
as a strategy.
Yeah, it's absolutely. That's a wonderful call.
Hello.
I completely adore. Right, there we go. That's you and I speaking over each other. How amazing! That's all kind of parallel times,
isn't it?
It's all good. So back to the very, very beginning. So firstly, I extend my delicious thoughts and thanks to you, because I know that your approach to social media is definitely one that many people inside, who look at Speaker Insight, who are inside the Connection Hub and Changemaker Central, just would take to heart and go, oh, for you, that feeling of relief. I get why they called you the social media angel, and you live up to your name beautifully.
Thank you.
So, you're welcome. You're so welcome. And the Connect and Create Day that is happening on the 10th of October, which is your opportunity to come offline into a beautiful room to really get on with things that you actually want to get on with in your business. It's a chance to work on your business rather than in it, as well as connect to some of the most amazing kind of like-minded peer-led sort of people. The person, so we ran this competition called My Light Bulb Moment, and for those of you who really want some speaker tips, so we did this one for the speakers, we did one for the coaches before, and there are some just amazing tips that kind of come in that are going to stand people instead for a long time. But the person who really took the challenge and kind of ran with it was Simon Jordan. So Simon, I hope you are available on the 10th, and if you're not, then you can come to a subsequent one, but you have won. And the reason that we said that was because not only did it generate masses and masses of, commentary after it, what I loved was you took the opportunity to not only provide us with 10 tips, which is amazing in and of itself, but you also then put it into your newsletter. So you took it and you created content out of a simple thing that you generated. So you were a demonstration also of just repurposing content, which is why I thought Katie might really love to hear that too.
Yeah, great.
Just amazing. So on that note, I'm sure that you have now had your lunch. You need to go crack on with work, and just Katie, again, thank you. People can find you and tag you in all sorts of places. And if there are any other questions for you, those of you on the replay, just pop them in here, and we'll all answer in some way, shape or form.
Yeah, thank you very much for inviting me to speak.
You are so welcome, my darling, so welcome. Many blessings, and I will catch you later. Bye, everyone.